Hi, welcome back guys, this is your friend, Mr. Fused Fiction Hub, bringing you another amazing story. This is the next part of the story, 2 Feet Short by Garrett Wellist. Chapter 10. Toshinori wasn't allowed in the conference room anymore. He didn't really have to be in the meeting either. It was only Nezu, Izuku and Torino-sensei. He'd already read all there was in the box and they all wanted to avoid him getting overly emotional once again. Apparently, Gran Torino had given him the box as he went out to America and he'd never looked at it once. He had to think of what to add as well. He had a full life ahead, especially with All for One locked away in Tartarus. He had plenty of time to add photos of him and Izuku. He thanked his past self for taking many selfies with his boy and write anything he thought was needed for the future holders, if there would be any. There was really no point in passing the quirk anymore, and the only reason he had passed it himself was to create a new symbol. Maybe that was the new purpose of the quirk. Toshinori walked in the grass of the courtyard. He had brought his snacks from yesterday with him in his backpack and savored each salty chip. Hey, there, are you one of the exchange students for America? The blonde jolted at the sudden call and turned to see young Mario, and he could genuinely call her young. Eerie. She wears her hair in 2 loose braids and her red overalls. I heard that an exchange student went into class 1B, but I didn't know there were 2. The pair walked closer, a beaming smile on the older blonde's face. His smile faded a bit as he got closer. Wait a minute. You seem familiar. Have I seen you before? If so, then I apologize for not recognizing you. His smile came back in full force, then his questions registered. Oh, me? No, I'm not an exchange student. He gave them his own smile before realizing which situation he had put himself into. If he wasn't an exchange student, then of course young Mirio seeing him would be more suspicious. By your 3rd year you get to know other students well, at least in the heroics course. Oh, then why haven't I? Wait, you kinda look like ... No way. He looked a bit more suspicious now, which made Yuri anxious and even more shy. There's no way you're All Might. But ... I mean a broken bar. Toshinori waves his hands through the air in an attempt to diffuse any suspicion. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but I am. It's the effect of my broken bar quirk. How was he going to explain it? Lucky for him, the older boy ignored it, the smile returning once again. No way. Really? You were so old before. Now look at you. You're almost Hiri's age, right? It looks like it. Before he knew it, Toshinori was in the air, held up by strong arms like a baby. It was a bit embarrassing, but he hoped it didn't show on his cheeks. All Might? Yuri's sweet voice sounded less scared, which was a very good thing, and she peeked her head out from behind the young adult. Once he was set down, Toshinori wrapped up the chips that were still in his hands and shoved them into his pocket. Yeah, it's me. Or should I say a broken bar? He paused for a dramatic effect. I am here. He gave his biggest smile and showed off his guns, not that he had any. That brought a laugh out of the 2 of them. Man, who knew? So, does this mean you get to live a healthy life for a little while? When does it wear off? The questions were all too innocent. It ... doesn't, he muttered, not wanting to think about the effect this will have on Izuku. How much his boy would miss because of this quirk. Oh, well, then I guess you get to be healthy for longer. A tug at Mirio's pant leg caught his attention. Eri looked up at him, a bit shy, but still not too bad. Will we see Aizawa and Deku? Ah, she came to visit her friends. I think Aizawa is still in the teacher's lounge, if I'm not mistaken. Izuku is in a meeting, though. A meeting that would decide if he could still be a hero or not. Then we'll visit Aizawa. Sorry to leave so soon. Mirio bowed, as if he had to apologize for leaving. Oh, it's fine. I do have to warn you though. Izuku is a broken bar grown up, a man? Not as young as he was, older, he decided. Both visitors gave him a strange look at that. Older? Eri asked first. Yeah, like me, but in reverse. He used hand motions in hopes that it would make more sense. Is he okay? Mirio asked, his expression laced with concern. He was almost as bad as the boy's mother. Physically, yes. He's not sick or anything, but ... I don't know how he will be emotionally. This whole thing has been kind of rough, especially now, finding out that it's permanent. He wasn't sure how Izuku would take the 2 visiting him. If he was sad, he could either be glad to have someone by him or he would suppress his feelings to smile, like he himself had done so many times. We'll be careful then. The blonde gave him a nod, which he returned. As the pair walked away, Eri looked back at him and smiled. He could not possibly imagine why anyone would wish to hurt such a sweet girl. Now alone, Toshinori decided to train. If he was going to get stuck like this for a while, he might as well get stronger. Heading to the track, the boy changed into his now official uniform and started warming his muscles. He started with stretches, then a quick jog around before he started to really run. His heart was pumping, pushing blood in and out of his veins. He was on his 5th lap around and he really had to train harder. Maybe he could find another beach to clean, just for him. He stopped when he saw a certain spiky-haired teenager watching him from the weight room. Those red eyes glared into his soul. He fought off a shiver. "Young Rikugu," he called. "Aren't you younger than me?" He spat. "You have a point." He chuckled to himself to help lighten the mood. It only proved to make it more awkward. "So, what are you doing here, my boy?" He gave another smile. "I'm allowed to work out before class." It seemed as though Toshinori was hitting every pothole in the conversation. "Well, yes, that's true." Rikugu walked toward the door of the locker rooms. It was most likely time for class. Sighing, Toshinori finished his last stretch and moved to get some time in the weight room, but the sound of the explosive teen calling him caught his attention. "Hey, All Might." How had he left the locker room so quietly? "So you're stuck like this?" It felt like more of a statement than a question, but Toshinori nodded all the same. How did he know that? Was it a guess? "Don't waste the rest of your life becoming an extra. Don't go around pretending like you're still a hero either. It's annoying." With that, the teen left. The blonde couldn't decide whether he had been insulted or somehow given advice. He'd have to think on that one later on. For now, he'd clear his mind, like he intended to do in the first place. Izuku came out of the meeting just as classes started. He had a soft smile on his face, but Toshinori was still having difficulty deciding whether he was going to announce good news or start sobbing. Nezu's face was unreadable, as always, and Torino-sensei was always grumpy, so really he had no context. "I will let Midoriya here explain our conclusion and get a pass late to class," Nezu proclaimed as if it were a master plan. With Nezu, you really couldn't tell if it was or not. "Thanks, Principal Nezu." The green-haired boy thanked softly. "So, he was sad? Don't go around making any more messes, you hear me?" Torino-sensei warned. "Riding all the way out here isn't exactly cheap." "Yes, Sensei." Toshinori recited and avoided brushing the smaller man's arm as he marched out. Nezu returned to his office, and it was just him and Izuku. They stood there for a while, neither speaking. Toshinori decided to break it first. "I'm assuming it went more smoothly without he in there," he joked. It was likely too soon to joke about, because Izuku released a shaky sigh and leaned against the wall. The younger boy followed him, letting his full attention go to his successor. "I read the things they said. The people who had this quirk before me, they were also so amazing. They weren't all heroes, at least not officially. I also read about your predecessor, Nanishimura." Izuku gave him a weak look. "Yes, she was my master." He didn't really have to confirm it, but it filled the silence. All of them talked about All for One. They were so scared. He murdered each and every one of them. Amazing people. Broken bar. The tears came and Toshinori was ready to hold his boy like he was a teenager again. When I was younger, in America, I was terrified of All for One. He was all I could think about, dream about. Everywhere I went, I thought I'd see him, ready to end me the way he had my master. It wasn't until I met Dave that those nightmares stopped, or slowed at least. He wasn't sure why he shared it. Maybe it was because his boy never needed to fear that villain the way they all had. He was free from the line of murder and terror. All Might. I want to be a hero still. More than ever. I want to save people, to keep people from feeling the way these people felt, the way you felt. I want to make people smile. I can still do that, All Might." Nezu said, "I could continue being here. I'll just have a shorter time as a hero than I thought. It'll be harder for me to go big, knowing so little and being so old, but I'll do it." Izuku stood up suddenly, almost knocking Toshinori off balance. "I will make a world for you to live in. A world where you can do whatever you want, quirkless or not, and hear me say the words I am here." Toshinori couldn't breathe for a second. He knew he would live to see it, now that he wasn't going to die so suddenly, but Izuku was motivated to save him. He didn't feel like he deserved it, but he wanted it. He hadn't really felt the full effects of being quirkless in a while, especially at a young age. It would be difficult for him to live his entire life without a power, but Izuku wanted him to be happy. "I love you, my boy. It's weird, since you're older now, but you're still like like a son to me." He hoped with his entire being that he hadn't ruined the moment. Izuku's eyes went wide and he sobbed out his name. All Might. Broken bar. Toshinori was pulled into a tight hug and he barely heard the next words his son spoke. "Can you still be my dad, even if you're younger?" "Yes." Toshinori felt his heart grow as it warmed his chest. He had a family now. He had someone to live for, someone to love him. "You don't have to marry Mom, though." "Not if you don't want." Toshinori blushed, but didn't pull away. "My boy." Izuku laughed, which made the younger boy laugh. "Maybe we shouldn't suggest Mom gets married to a 12-year-old. The green-haired man wiped at his eyes helplessly. "That would be for the best." "All Might?" Sir answered the phone faster this time. "Hey, I just wanted to call again. I think I think I know what I want now." Toshinori gulped down his nervousness. "All right, I'm listening." Now he had the stage. He could say all he wanted, but he only needed to say one thing. "Sir, I want to try again." He knew he likely didn't deserve a second chance after being so stubborn. Sir had said himself that he hadn't fully forgiven him, but maybe they could still work this out. Toshinori, I think I can learn to forgive you for throwing your life away, for not giving Mirio one for all, for making a mess. I think that, in the end, it's worth it. Izuku Midoriya is a fantastic kid and he deserves to be a hero just as much as Mirio does. It was like music had played. Thank you, sir. He sighed in relief. He had a second chance. Will I expect to see you back in the field? Even if you don't have a quirk, I'm sure you can find some way to still be a hero. You know what? I'll get back to you on that. Then tell me the final plan, Mr. Symbol of peace. It was as close to teasing as Sir could get. It felt refreshing to hear it again. Toshinori ended the call and for the first time, he actively thought about what he wanted his future with this new life to look like. What was he going to do with so many years ahead of him? Surely he couldn't become All Might all over again. When given the chance to relive your life, why would you repeat it? Sure, his life had been more than fulfilling. His dream had been achieved. His nemesis was in Tartarus and would never get out. He could still help bring the League of Villains down. He could help the police with the rising crimes, or even continue to work in charities and hospitals for those who needed a bit of hope. But Sir was right. Maybe he hadn't been then, 6 years ago in the hospital after his fight with All for One, but he was now. The world doesn't need All Might anymore. They don't need him to save them, to give them hope, because they have each other. They have Deku. And now, he can look forward to the day his son will look the world in the face and say I am here, even if he has to do it 2 feet short. Thanks for listening to this tale. Make sure you comment, like and subscribe and have a wonderful day.